try the Facebook thing or no?
You can try it. We
I don't see
see.
why not. Well,
Let's see what it does.
okay. Let me know when you're going.
All right. Let's see. We want to share on a page I manage. Strix. Next. All right. Preparing live stream. All right, go ahead.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jim McCarthy. I am your host for this Chill with Jim episode where it's always business up top and pajamas on the bottom.
He's wearing pants this time, thank goodness.
You look nervous, David.
My job at Strix, Louisiana is I am the client advocate. So what I do is I make sure that our clients are set up with the best software, equipment, the best IT solutions that are out there to make sure that their businesses are running at optimal efficiencies. We also have David DeArmond on the line with us.
Hello, I am David DeArmond, owner of Strix, Louisiana, and I'm here to try to herd all the cats and make sure we go in the right direction for our clients.
All right. And we have Candace DeArmond joining us as well.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Candace. I wear many hats, community outreach, marketing, business processes. So, yeah, thank y'all for tuning in today.
Right.
It's nice to see you, Candace.
I know, I never do video. I was like, let me try today. Usually I have kids popping in, and that's happened 3 times so far. So
That's okay.
This is actually, even when we do our team meetings, she's usually not on the video because she's wrangling up the kids at doing something. So I was like, kind of forgot what you look like.
I'll be walking in the yard or keeping them from falling off of something when I'm on the call.
And if we see the video go out really quick, that means
something
I'm
happened.
handle the kids.
Well, welcome everybody. You know, at Strix, we believe there's always a better, simpler way. And so what that means is we're always evaluating, searching, and advancing the way that we do things to make sure that our IT processes and solutions are the best possible solutions we have in place. And so part of that responsibility we feel is to educate our clients as well as others on, you know, some of their resources they have in place, the technology that's out there, as well as some of the security risks that are happening in the world of IT today. Today, we're going to go ahead and talk about ransomware. Now, ransomware has become more and more common among small businesses. It's where what happens is the bad guy will get into your computer. He will encrypt all of your information, all of your data on the computer, and essentially lock you out of your own device. You won't be able to open anything if it's a Word document, a spreadsheet, PowerPoint, if you have any contacts in there. Everything you open up is going to be this weird garbled script that's encrypted data. And so there's good news. All you have to do is pay like thousands of dollars to get your information back from them. But actually there's a lot better ways of preparing for this and making sure that they're not going to be able to get in and encrypt your data. So I'm going to share my screen here. I do have just a few slides, some graphics I'd like to show that kind of demonstrate what it looks like here. So this first one, I love this graphic here because it's, and you guys can see this, right?
Yes.
Okay, so this graphic is great because it's literally what they do. They will lock you out of your own computer. And you see that money sign in the middle there. Typically, that's going to be the way that if you don't have any of these preventions in place, that you'll have to get your data back. They will let you buy it back from them.
Very sweet.
So yeah, it's
Yeah.
very nice of them. Very nice of them. They have awesome customer service. They'll be sure to pick up that phone probably on the first ring. So it's just it's kind of amazing the lengths that they go through here. Looking at just the last 10 months, we have some great examples of this in Louisiana itself. There was quite a few schools in northern Louisiana that were hit with some ransomware attacks. Some of the state offices in Baton Rouge itself were hit with a ransomware attack, and then looking at the city of New Orleans, that was one of the biggest ones. It made national news. It was all over the headlines. I think that was 4 months ago, maybe 5 months ago, that it happened, where literally the city of New Orleans was locked out of their data by the bad guys, by the people holding them hostage. So we'll go to the next. Here's some of the numbers, and we don't want to scare anyone, but it's very important, especially for small businesses, to understand the implications of what kind of attacks are going on, the percentage of what they get through, how they get through, and the aftermath it'll cause. So 43% of all cyber attacks target small businesses. You're looking at a yearly increase in small business cyber breaches of 424%. That's just in the last 12 months.
That's crazy.
The average ransomware request, and these numbers kind of bounce around a little bit, but for a small business, they're coming in at right about $5,000. You know, they'll get in there, they'll lock you out, and all you have to do is pay them $5,000, and you'll get all of the money back. They've worked out these numbers based off of some, you know, what you pay your employees, the cost of downtime, what you're missing out of when you're not active. But the average cost of downtime right now for a small business that's hit with a ransomware attack is about $46,000. And the total cost of remediation, so this means you're probably going to have to bring in an IT specialist. You're probably going to have to go out of your way to get some consulting from other people. It totals about $120,000, you know, when a cyber breach does occur. And then the really hard, scary fact is that 60% of all small businesses that are hit with a data breach of some kind, whether it's a phishing scheme, ransomware attack, you know, services or software exposures, that's going to be, you know, and within about 6 months, they're going to go out of business 100%. One of the most common ways, and we had a great Chill with Jim session about phishing emails, but one of the most common ways that they're going to deploy this ransomware attack is a phishing email where someone's going to pretend to be someone else. They're going to pretend to be Microsoft maybe. With the fake identity, they're going to be able to, you know, trick you into stealing your information, stealing money, or having you click on something that actually deploys this ransomware. And then this is an important one to talk about. So, and you know, I'm in a business networking international group. We have about 32 members. I would say 70% of those members, they're smaller businesses. They have less than 10 employees. The common theme I hear from these companies is, we're a small business. We really don't have to worry about it. We don't have a whole lot to lose. They're not going to come after us because we're so small. But this is a huge myth. You know, from one of the first slides, you're going to see, you know, that 60% of these attacks are directed right at small businesses, small business owners. So this is a very important myth that we have to get rid of, a mindset really that we have to get rid of, is that no one's really exempt from being hit by cyber attacks. And so those are just some of the screens, the graphics I wanted to share with everybody. So let me get out of my screen share here. So that's an introduction to ransomware and what it is, kind of the ins and outs of how it affects you. And I'd love to open it up for maybe David or Candace if you had any more ways to paint that picture of what ransomware does. Maybe I missed out on something here or there.
Yeah, well, one thing that that's interesting about ransomware is how it's deployed, and I might get into the geek side a little bit more here, but it's it's interesting that a lot of times the ransomware, when it first hits, they're not deploying the actual ransomware. So let's say you fall for a phishing scheme or whatever, you open an email. A lot of times the program that gets loaded from the email, it doesn't look like it does much of anything. It sits on the computer, and they call this the enumeration phase. So this is the hacker is now in your system, and now they're just going to start poking around. And it takes a little bit of time. They decide, okay, am I on a good computer? Can I get to a computer that has more privileges, maybe, because they're really looking for a network, and how large of a network do we have, because they have to set the right price for the ransomware and everything else. And so it goes through many steps. That first step isn't the ransomware. It's not necessarily until 3 steps later that they deploy the actual ransomware. And so there's some names you may hear out there, the Emotet and the TrickBot, pieces of malware that exist out there that will get onto your system, give the person access, let them look around, and then deploy ransomware after they have decided where they are and what they're doing.
And one of the other big names of an actual attack was the WannaCry, right? That was.
Yeah, that was one of the first big ransomware hits that it kind of swept through the world, really, and that was a very, very big one. Yeah.
We did have a, yeah, go ahead.
No, what they've done is most of the ransomware, it originally targeted financial institutions, and like WannaCry, it targeted financial institutions, but then it's just like a real virus, and it mutates, and someone else gets the code, or they buy the code on the dark web, and they change it up a little bit so that it can get into other environments. And you see that now the signatures, it may be originally WannaCry, but it's been changed, or the way that they deploy it has changed over time. And so it's a little bit different than WannaCry now, or a little bit different than Ryuk. Ryuk is another very common ransomware out there. But it's just like a real virus, a real ecosystem. It grows and changes over time to work around whatever protections are in place.
Yes, that's a great point. As well, the mindset behind it, the bad guys find more and more ways to do it. So, okay, let's hit financial institutions because they have a lot of money. Then it turned into, well, who are the people that probably don't have a lot of preventions in place? And that's when they started to focus on the small to medium-sized businesses, because they're an easy target. I love this analogy, but really what the hacker is going to do is he's walking down a street with a bunch of cars lined up down this street, and he's just pulling door handles a lot of the times. He wants to get to the car that's unlocked. He's looking for the easiest entry. Now, there is a possibility maybe your car has a lot of valuables inside of it. So, okay, now the hacker might consider, I'm going to spend a little more time on this because there's something very valuable inside, and maybe I'll break a window. Maybe I'll pick the lock. So that's when you look at the way that they're going to attack you. They're looking for low-hanging fruit. But then also, if you are a company that has a lot of valuable information, a lot of valuable resources, they're probably going to spend, a little more time trying to get into your system, just to get that valuable resource. Us as a MSP, which is a managed service provider, we have a lot of valuable data because we help all of our clients throughout their IT infrastructures. So we've actually become a large target. The MSP providers have become a huge target for, cyber attacks, ransomware, breaches, and so we've had to. The great thing is the things that we put into place, we pass those on to our clients to make sure that they're safe.
That's an important one, Jim, because uh, a lot of companies have woken up and they see, hey, I've been hit by ransomware, and they start looking, well, how did I get hit? That company actually didn't get hit. It was the MSP, and the tools were used from the MSP. So the dentist office that got slammed, they came in that morning and couldn't access anything. They actually weren't breached directly. It was through their MSP. That's become a huge area for that's a gold mine for a hacker.
Mm-hmm. Another point on that too is like when the Target breach happened, Target wasn't actually the company to get breached. It was a contractor of theirs that had access to Target's network or resources, and it was a small business, so they targeted a small business that allowed them to hack one of the big guys, the Target. Target had a huge breach, and it was through the smaller company that was doing work with Target. So we did have a poll at the beginning asking people if they know anyone who's had a ransomware attack, if they've been attacked themselves. As an IT company, we have some good examples, but I was wondering if, Carlene, if you've heard of anybody or you know anyone that has
do not. I really didn't know a whole lot about it. And I mean, I've heard of it and, heard it happen, but I didn't really know a whole lot about it. And that's why I wanted to be on this call and learn, because I really definitely don't want it to happen.
Carlene, it's always interesting to talk to someone who doesn't know much about it, because we go in with certain assumptions. What was your feeling beyond just a little bit of fear about ransomware, and then following the discussion here, what are your thoughts and your questions on it?
Well, I mean, it's like I said, I really didn't know a whole lot about it before, so I didn't really have, I guess, a whole lot of thoughts about it. It's definitely scarier knowing more, because you always think, that's not going to happen to me. Like you said, it's just me. I don't have anybody that works with me. I don't have, I'm just a very small operation, and so it's definitely, I guess, scary knowing more. But I know that I'm doing the right thing by learning about it.
Yes.
Yeah, they've targeted individuals as well. Usually the payday is not as good, but a lot of people have pictures on their computer, and I've seen people willing to pay $1,500, $2,000 to get their pictures back. And so even as an individual, if they go through and encrypt your pictures, there are a lot of people that will pay the money. Maybe you don't pay as much in downtime, but you may be willing to drop a couple of $1,000s to get those pictures of your kids from when they were babies and
I'm one of
those
those
sorts of
people.
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
do that in a heartbeat.
I would too.
Yeah.
I would too.
Yeah, and then it's that feeling of, because we've worked with, and before I worked with Strix, worked with a few different people who were hit by ransomware attacks, and it's just this very unsettling, scary feeling to know that someone has gotten in, but you have to take their word for it, that they are, once you give them the money, that they are going to give you your stuff back, and that they're not going to come back and do it again.
Right.
Yeah,
And that's just such a violation. You feel violated inside. The downtime might not be like it is for a company, but the emotional stress you're going to go through for this is just humongous. They're going to make you buy a Bitcoin cyber currency to pay for this. Most people have never bought a Bitcoin before in their life. So now you have to learn how to buy Bitcoins. You have to follow all their instructions to get it to them. And then again, like, my fear so many times is that, okay, in 3 months, they're just going to redo what they did.
Yeah, that's it happens. I read a story recently about a nonprofit organization. I mean, this is an organization. They don't have much money. They're a nonprofit. They're just looking to do some good. They get hit by ransomware. They pay the ransom. But what that tells the cyber criminals is that these people are willing to pay the ransom. And so you actually move up on the priority list
Become a
of
favorite.
targets. You become a favorite because, hey,
Hearts.
how many
I
likes
like
does this
them.
kind of, you become a bigger target because the hackers know, well, you will pay. You have paid in the past, you will pay. So yeah, the best idea is to not have to pay at all.
Yep. Candace, did you
So
have something?
what can we do to prevent it then?
Well, that's a great question. And I was just about to move on to that. So I
Oh, wonderful.
appreciate
You guys are keep talking about what it is, and I'm like, all right, is this the end of the call? I hope there's more to it.
we are trying to build some understanding first, and then I have a list of things that we'll go over that are going to be helpful to just about everybody. These steps will help a solopreneur, a person just wants to protect their personal computer, as well as a larger company. The first step, well, one of the steps, the most common one people are going to take, is to put an antivirus in place. So, the thing with antiviruses is they're a dime a dozen. Is that the saying that everybody uses? So Windows is going to give you a free antivirus every time you buy a Windows computer. Norton antivirus is going to be most of the time a free subscription that, all you have to do is get reminded 5 times a day that they want to sell you the new subscription, but you just sacrifice that and from Norton bugging you all the time. But not every antivirus is created equally. So we definitely think that you should go to a paid subscription of an antivirus. Some of the good ones out there, SentinelOne has a really good one. I had another example of Falcon by CrowdStrike is a good one. They're worth the price most of the time.
Yeah,
80%. Yeah.
Sorry, Jim. Those two that you mentioned, they take a step beyond what a traditional antivirus is going to do. What most people think of antivirus. Most antiviruses, your Nortons, your McAfee's, they are based on definitions, file definitions. And so what they do is they look at every file that goes in and out of your computer, and they say, does it match a known virus? And these get updated pretty often, but you're always still a little bit behind. And what the hackers have learned to do is, number one, they'll change the program just a little bit every time that they deploy it. They'll change it just a little bit so it doesn't match anymore. It doesn't match the definitions that are on the antivirus. The other thing that they've done, it's pretty amazing. I've seen this actually in the wild, is they do fileless ransomware or fileless malware. It doesn't have to be ransomware, but there is no file. They take the program, they encode it, and then they put it in a registry key or load it directly into the memory of your computer, and then they decode it. It's just text. It's not an actual file. And so a traditional antivirus is not going to catch it. and that's going to trigger in your computer's memory and start running. They create a scheduled task on your computer so that it runs every time you start your computer, and there's never a file, never a file. So your traditional antiviruses aren't going to catch that, whereas the Falcon by CrowdStrike and Sentinel-1, they watch the behavior of the computer, and they'll look at known programs that belong to Windows that you would think you could trust, but you can't anymore. They'll watch those programs and they'll say, wait a minute, this program is doing something that it doesn't normally do. It's accessing some areas of the computer that it really shouldn't access, and it's behaving in a way that it certainly looks like ransomware. So we're going to shut it down, even though the other antivirus programs out there would say, oh no, that's okay. We know about this one. It's okay.
Yeah, that's a great explanation. You know, so that involves some AI then, right? Artificial intelligence.
Yeah. Candace is laughing.
No.
Um,
I'm anti-robots. I did have a quick question real quick. So back when we chose this topic, I did some research on it. And one thing that I found a lot on is the argument of, is ransomware a virus or is it not a virus? And it seemed that the majority say it's not a virus because a virus replicates, and ransomware does not replicate. It does not copy. It scrambles and just basically makes everything a puzzle, so you have no idea what you're looking at. So if it's not a virus, which, is that correct? It's not a virus?
It's not a virus. It's usually accompanied with a virus. So that's what I was explaining, where the hacker will get in and they will use a virus that does spread throughout the network, and that virus will then deploy the ransomware.
But it's not an actual virus. It's separate.
They're separate, yeah.
So if are the majority of antivirus, geared toward just viruses? Like, do you have to be really, really picky about what you choose to protect yourself, since antiviruses are for a virus and ransomware is not a virus?
Yeah.
How do you know what to choose?
I kind of liken it to, the original Kleenex didn't have aloe vera and everything else in it. It was just Kleenex, and everybody got to know it as Kleenex only. Right. Antivirus, viruses used to be the thing. That's what would attack a company. That's what would get on your computer. It was a virus, and so antivirus came out, and everybody got to know it as antivirus. Well, malware changed. So malware is a more broad category, and it includes viruses, because malware, it's bad software, basically software with bad intention. So it includes viruses, it includes Trojans, it includes ransomware, it includes all of these different types, keyloggers, everything. It includes all of the software that has bad intentions. Most antiviruses today, they're called antiviruses, but they really watch for all malware. So they're really they're anti-malware, not antivirus. Just everybody got to know it as, they kept the name. That's what everybody knew it as, is antivirus. So.
Okay.
Great question. And then I have a stat here, just to give an idea. So 86% of the businesses that were hit by a virus or a worm or some kind of malicious software, out of those 86 businesses, 99% of them had some sort of antivirus in place. And that's why it's important to maybe pay a subscription, to go out and to vet the right antivirus, because just the run of the mill. How do you know? Well, we just gave you a couple
if you're
of
a normal
examples.
but if you're a normal Tom, Dick, and Harry, and you know nothing about this stuff, and I don't know you guys, how do I know you're not selling me something that is just expensive? How do I know that you're not selling me something that's going to put money in your pocket? Like, I guess, what's the best way to protect myself as an individual without knowing I'm going to get beat, or knowing that I'm thinking I'm protected and paying, but you know what I mean? Like, how do
Yeah, I
you?
mean, for me, I think like Carlene, she's doing the right thing. I, she didn't know what ransomware was. She knew it's bad, but she doesn't
Mhm.
know what it was. So she's going and she's attending this and she's learning more about what it's about. So now when she goes to look for an antivirus solution, she can maybe do a deeper search and look at all of the features and, well, is it going to catch everything? Does it do fileless? Does it watch for fileless malware? How much does it actually do? And she can better understand. And of course, I mean, we're happy to answer questions from anybody, but like you said, how do they know we're not just trying to sell them something? Try to find that trusted advisor that you can talk to, that person, maybe a friend that's in the IT world, that is that can help educate you a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because at the
And
end of the day, you have to have someone in your pocket, because if I go and I buy one of the two suggestions you gave, Jim, I mean, that's not 100%, then I'm not still going to get something, right?
well, yeah, but also, I mean, I can guarantee you that everything that's on the market is not gonna be 100%.
Yeah, it's not foolproof. So then
Because the
after,
bad guys are always adapting their
right.
way, like David said. So
Yeah.
you might have the top of the line. I think Viper is another good one that's got good reviews. So you might be top of the line, and companies will go out and buy the best in the business for thousands of dollars a month, and they get
Yeah.
hit.
Yeah,
So
when you watch the ratings of, there's ESET, Bitdefender, Webroot, all of these good, Kaspersky, all of the, built by the Russians, scary enough, but you've got all of these products, and what you see when they're reviewed year after year, and this is why it's important to go do some research. They change, and
right.
one year it's going to be one that's above the other because they've identified a certain area that they put a lot of development in, and that's what grew. In the case of Kaspersky, they've got, they know what's coming because in the back room they're building it. But I mean,
Which happens more often than we all know.
it works great, but you got to watch out who else they're employing. So
if I go out right now and I go out and buy my antivirus, my wall protector, and all of that, and then I do get hit, you're telling me my next step is basically learn how to buy a Bitcoin and how to
Well, no,
I
because
need to go Google that. Like, what's the next step after I do get hit, even though I have tried protection?
well, these next few things I'm gonna recommend will hopefully help you so you don't have to go and get Bitcoin. So, because just like the car analogy. So, okay, I have a lock on my door. I'm good, right? Well, you're good for most of the attacks, but if someone wants to break your window, they're going to break your window and they're going to find a way in. Okay, so then I get an alarm. I'm going to get an alarm so that they don't do that. So, okay, that works good, but what about the guy who knows how to turn your alarm off?
Mm-hmm.
So then you can, then you get the club and you club it up. Oh, the guy's got a saw that goes through the club. So what we want to do is to put as many steps before the bad guy, before the hacker. You want to make it as hard as possible. So we're going to list a bunch of ways you can slow them down. What you're hoping for is he's going to lose interest. Oh, I got Carlene, her computer here. Man, she's got like 2 or 3 things that I'd have to really work hard at, getting over this fence. The fence has barbed wire, and then after the barbed wire, it's got motion sensors. I don't want her family pictures that bad, or something like that. So you want to put all these steps into place. Another way, this is more designed for a business, a small business, is to put a firewall in place. The firewall is going to block your inside network from the outside bad traffic that's trying to get into your inside network. So it's putting up a wall, it's putting up a moat, it's trying to prevent the bad guys. It's going to watch all of the traffic that's coming through in and out. and it's gonna say, oh, this looks bad, send it back out. So it's really, it's gonna block unwanted intrusions into your home network, into your business network. It'll help protect against malware, ransomware. There's some that'll protect against phishing schemes. A man-in-the-middle attack, which is an interesting attack. So that's someone who's like an eavesdropper. So they're just gonna watch what goes in and goes out. And so maybe they're watching your emails. So Candace, hey David, in an email, hey David, what's the password to get into Strix, blah, blah, blah. He sees this, oh, I'm gonna pay attention. What's David gonna say? David's gonna say, oh, hey, my password is this. So boom, now he's got your password. That's why we recommend never emailing passwords. Another thing they can do is, then maybe you respond with, oh, and by the way, that's the password for this service and this service. And if you need the username, it's here. And oh, whoa, phew, I got everything I need. All I've been doing is sitting here drinking my Mountain Dew and watching their conversation back and forth. So, David, you look like you might have something you wanted to add to firewall.
No, I don't know if you're working towards backups or not, but
yeah, that's my favorite one.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's my favorite one too. So I'm itchy for it.
Well, we're gonna go ahead and just skip right to backup and recovery then, because this is honestly my favorite way of doing it. So, and what we do with our clients at Strix is we back up their information every 30 minutes. So if a ransomware attacks, if the server breaks, the computer breaks, something stops working, all we have to do is reverse time to 29 minutes or 30 minutes before that, and all of the data is there like it should be. Everything's in place. So this is picture in my head. What I picture in my head is so there's a hostage situation, and they've kidnapped your daughter, and they got him hostage, and they're threatening, okay, if you don't give us the money, we're gonna do this and do that to your daughter. And oh, actually, you know what? I made a clone of my daughter.
You can have that daughter.
About 30 minutes ago. So, do what you will with that one. I got one. It's
hilarious.
Just in the back room over here. So I don't care about all that you got. I don't care about that daughter. I got it back up. But really, that's what it is. And I love this picture, is like to be able to be in, if we could see a hacker face to face and be like, oh, you're going to do what with our data? And you're going to take it away. And, oh, I don't care. I got it. 27 minutes ago, I backed up everything. You can do what you want with that data. You can take it out on a date. You can never call it back after that date. I don't care. We got a backup of, maybe it's 15 minutes ago. You're only going to use, when you have Strix, you're only going to lose up to 30 minutes of work. So yeah, that might be a pain. You might have been working on a paper, but guess what? 30 minutes before, we'll reverse time, and we'll pull up that backup, and you're good to go. So that's really my favorite.
That's my favorite now too.
Yeah,
Awesome.
we've been through that. We've had clients that got hit by ransomware, and again, we have protections in place, and then we of course add protections as we see new things coming on out in the wild. But we've had clients get hit by ransomware, and hallelujah for the backups. We disconnect the infected computer off of the network, and then we just reload everything. And that's the important part, because that puts you on the list for the hackers of, they're not going to pay. So
Right.
you can hit them, but they're not going to pay. And that, again, it like you said, Jim,
They unheart
all
you.
these layers. Yeah, it's like, man, swipe, I don't know, left or right. I don't know which one it is. I haven't been yeah.
My favorite part is when the client buys the backup data recovery and all of these protections, and they trust us, and they're like, okay, you say I need this, so I really need this. And they might not totally understand exactly what they're buying, and then something happens, and then they're like, oh my God, I lost everything. Oh no. And then we tell
Yeah.
them, and it's that, oh, cool, that moment where they're like, that's what I bought. Okay, now I get it. It's that aha, like, oh, okay, I'm really glad I did this now. So that's also where, like we said earlier, having someone you trust comes into play, because
And
when you're buying
Carlene,
stuff you don't really understand.
yeah, and Carlene, for you, like we, you know, and there's services out there, so it doesn't have to be through us. We're not trying to sell only Strix solutions. We're just talking about solutions, but
It's too late
there-
for Carlene. They've already bought it. They've got Sentinel-1. She's got
Oh, okay.
Sentinel-1 sitting on her computer right now.
Good. Well, the other thing is, you know, as a solopreneur, as a individual, I can invest in email recovery and backup. So it's the same concept there, where all of your emails, all of the things you have, if it's Microsoft Office, so all of the, you know, your OneDrive and email backups, they're all going to be there. You can set it to an interval of however, I don't know, they might not go below an hour or 30 minutes or so, but you can make a backup of everything. And so we helped a client with this, a local lawyer for Baton Rouge, and we loved it because within the first 2 days, he had accidentally deleted an email that he worked 3 hours on. So what did we do? We turned back the time to 2 days earlier when he accidentally deleted it, found the email, and we saved him redoing 3 hours of work. And if
that's attorney work.
Right.
that's how I'm gonna
That's
say,
expensive.
if you know, that's a quite. If you look at an hourly rate, how much did we save them? I mean, a lawyer's gonna cost you a pretty penny for an hour of work. So we were able to show our worth right then. The other ones I have, you know, installing updates on your computer. You always want to install the Windows updates. There's going to be a vulnerability in your computer. In the software, there's always probably going to be a vulnerability there. It's only a matter of time until the hackers find it. So what happens is Windows is constantly evaluating their software. They're going to provide a patch. This patch is going to patch that hole in the security. They do it 2-3 times a week most of the time. So automatic updates are very important. If you don't have those set up, it leaves it in your hands. So you're going to have to be the one to apply the updates.
Yeah, that's an important one there, Jim, because the WannaCry that you mentioned, completely avoidable. I mean, it spread like wildfire. It was completely avoidable because it used an exploit that is in the Windows operating system that if you're updating your Windows, the update for Windows came out before WannaCry. Now it was weeks. It was very, very close, but and you know, this just goes to show you that no one's ever safe, because the entire exploit for that actually came from the NSA, who got breached and their tools were stolen. So the whole way that WannaCry got out there was from the Eternal Blue exploit, which was a vulnerability in Windows that if you update your Windows, you're not exposed to Eternal Blue. But millions of machines out there, they did not update Windows. They were vulnerable to Eternal Blue, which then was used to load WannaCry.
Yeah. So that's an important one. Some other ones, a VPN, a virtual private network, can help you. You know, most of us are going to go and work outside of the office, maybe from the house. Maybe we go to, back in the day, we would go to Starbucks or something like that to just to get out of the house, mix it up, and to get some work done while I'm drinking a good coffee. Well, you know, as a rule of thumb, we'd love to let everybody know it's not a good idea to connect to a public Wi-Fi. It opens up all kinds of doorways into your personal data and company data that you really don't want to do. If you have a VPN in place, it'll help protect you, but it'll also just help protect you in general. A VPN creates like a private tunnel for all of your information, all your signals going back and forth. It's going to encrypt all of that information. So even if someone's reading the traffic that you're doing, it's going to be encrypted data, so they don't understand. This will actually, you know how when you're on Facebook and maybe 3 days ago you were looking at baby gates on Amazon, and all of a sudden on your Facebook, they're promoting baby gates somehow. This will help avoid that, because what's going on is they're watching on your device, they're watching the traffic. So they know, oh, hey, Candace was looking at this product the other day. We're going to go ahead and bombard her with all different kinds of back support things or something like that. You know, this will help prevent that, because now it's encrypted data.
And it helps Father's Day too, when you're researching stuff and then you share an Amazon account and it shows him what I've been looking at. So I have a quick question. So I don't remember the pricing on the VPNs, but it sounds expensive. I don't know if it is. If I'm going to Starbucks or something, which I would never do because coffee to me is the worst thing ever. But if I'm going to Starbucks and I want to use my hotspot on my phone, does that protect me? And is that a cheaper route, like as opposed to having the VPN?
I mean, it is better than using the Starbucks Wi-Fi. I will certainly say that. We encourage everyone to use the VPN on their phone as well, though.
Okay.
So you know, and that's
So
using
there's an
the
app.
same data. Yeah, there are exploits. They're more difficult. So you know, Jim talked about putting the layers,
Right.
but when you get into, let's say, especially in a city environment where there's more people, there are not very difficult ways to pretend to be Verizon and or AT&T or whoever. And so you can set up this little device and it broadcasts to the area, and every phone out there thinks that it's talking directly to Verizon. And what it's doing is just capturing the information, going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. With the VPN, you don't have that concern, because all of that traffic is encrypted, so they can look at it all they want. It's just like the bad guys encrypting your data for ransomware. You can look at it all you want, you just can't understand it.
Right.
The same thing with the hackers in that situation. With a VPN, they can look at the data, they can't understand it, so they don't see your password, they don't see important information about your computer, so that they can actually access your computer and then install ransomware or something like that.
Yeah.
You know, one thing you just brought to mind for me is vendor events, because whenever I've done vendor events in the past, you're thinking, okay, you know, this is a secure environment. All of these companies, I hook up my my pad to that. I hook up my Square account with all of my money for all of my purchases. And when you get to the event, you talk to the event coordinator and they tell you, oh yeah, we have free Wi-Fi. Like they broadcast that free Wi-Fi. And I've never thought about the fact that, like you're saying, like that's another Starbucks hotspot. Like it's places that we think are secure. Like I don't think a Starbucks is a secure spot, but like a vendor event, I'm paying 200, 300, how many ever dollars to be at this event. Sure, you're going to have the right protections in place, but they probably don't.
No, generally not. I went to an event at Southern University, and they were, this is businesses that are going to this event. It's at their small business development center, and they're broadcasting their, here's the Wi-Fi.
Right.
Now what I know is that I can set up a device that will use the same SSID, that's the ID of the wireless network, and the same password, and I can follow that. Any person I pick in that room, I can follow them around with this little device, their phone, their computer, whatever, because generally people set it to remember that information so they don't have to keep entering it. It's going to connect to my device because I'm pretending to be the same thing. So
it's so scary.
Yeah, I mean, and that's a man in the middle. That's exactly what a man in the middle is I'm pretending to be someone else. I'm directing all of the traffic through my device. I'm capturing everything. I don't even have to look at it right now. All I'm going to do is follow you around for a while, I'm going to gather as much information as I can, and then I'm going to go back to my dark room with my Mountain Dew, and
Yeah.
and go through everything through an automated program that's going to tell me exactly what I need to know to get into your Amazon, your bank, your computer, everything.
So I guess that stands for hotels too.
Yeah.
So
big
whenever
time.
we go, usually like Dugan's or any other events, we're working in our rooms, we're working in a conference room, wherever. And David's always like, here's our, we very, very seldomly use the hotel internet. And I knew it was because it was safer, but I guess I didn't understand the full depth of, why it was safer.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now the difficulty there is that a lot of hotels, and I'm interested to see what hotels do, they will block VPN traffic.
Really?
And so they won't let you connect via VPN, and it's because they want to be careful about what's ending up on their network. And if you're going through a VPN, they can't see
They can't
anymore.
see it.
They don't know
Gotcha.
what's going on their network, so they will actually block VPN traffic. And I've heard that from a lot of people. They go to the hotel and their VPN doesn't work anymore. I would say you don't connect to that Wi-Fi.
So at
Yeah.
that point, you just use a hotspot?
Yeah.
I had that issue in Anaheim because I
Yeah.
have a VPN that I initially bought for my Fire Stick, but then I use it, on my computer, and I use it everywhere else. And I tried working with that on, and it would not work.
Yeah, I had that same problem, Corleen, at that hotel there in Anaheim, and I ended up using my hotspot a lot because the VPN that we use, it wouldn't work very well anyway.
Some of the other things we'll touch on. Oh, Carlene, did you have something else?
I do, but I can wait till the end.
Okay. Why don't you go ahead and fire away, Carlene?
Okay, well, just a quick confirmation then. David, so you said that I do have antivirus now?
You have antivirus on steroids. You have Sentinel-1.
Nice.
Yeah, and so
got
it's
the
actually
pro.
we call it EDR. It's endpoint detection and response. So yeah, what you have on your machine goes a step way beyond your traditional antivirus. It's going to be watching everything. Now, again, it's not foolproof, and I've had conversations this week. I've got conversations scheduled for next week for even more protections that we can put in place, because the Falcon and the Sentinel-1, these are being used pretty widely now because they are so effective. But the bad guys are coming up with ways around it, and they're responding back and forth. They're playing cat and mouse. But we've got to be a step ahead, and we're looking for even more ways. So right now you are about as protected as you can be for a reasonable price.
Wonderful.
Yeah, you're gonna stop. At, like Jim mentioned, the number of layers. If the average Joe hacker comes to look at your computer, is gonna say it ain't worth
Ain't
it.
worth it.
It ain't worth it. So,
Good.
if you're a Department of Defense contractor or a medical facility, then they may try a little bit harder, and they'll work around getting those. They'll try to work around those defenses. But yeah, what you have for your environment is about as good as you can get.
Thank you.
You're welcome. A couple of the other ones we'll touch on real quick because we're getting about to the end here. So password manager. So strong passwords are huge. They need to be strong. That's a good way for just the bad guy to get in general. I'm going to go ahead and share this because I think it's hilarious. So this guy, he doesn't have a password manager.
He's got a password manager.
Yeah, that's right. He's got his own password manager
cubicle.
there. But oh man, his company's not letting him reuse the same password anymore. So now he's got to have 2,000 sticky notes. Password manager. I love this. I think this is David's, but it's one password to rule them all. Lord of the Rings. So it'll allow you to to manage your passwords, come up with super strong ones. You don't have to remember them. The problem is we want to remember all of our passwords. So we make them easy, we make them rememberable, we reuse them. We might change a letter here or there, number added on, but we reuse it. And you know, the first thing they're going to do is they're going to get, once they get a password from you, they get it somehow. What they're going to do is they're going to blast it to every service you could think of. They're going to Capital One, Facebook, Amazon, and they're just going to see where this password you used is used again. And they're going to tweak it. They're going to add a capital letter here or there. It's very easy for them to spray this password across multiple services to find out where, uh-oh, you used it twice.
We're talking about multi-factor authentication next week, right?
Right.
Yeah, and that's actually what I was going to just touch on. So multi-factor authentication, and we'll have a good Chill with Jim session next week about this, but it's your next step. So this is basically it'll send a code or a password or a verification out to another device saying, hey, you just tried to log in with your password, but we need you to verify one more way. And that's a great step in blocking of them. So that means if they do have your password, that they're not going to be able to get in because you still have to do that second form of authentication.
And it's annoying. I was just fussing about it last night to David. I didn't have my phone on me, and the app, you know, you install the app on your phone is one way, and I logged in and I put my password and I'm like, gotta go find my phone.
Yeah.
But it's so worth it.
I've set up all of my passwords, or at least 95% of them with Mikey. That's what we use internally, and Carlene will be onboarding you guys with Mikey here soon.
Yeah.
It's got two-factor authentication built into it, and so it pre-fills the two-factor authentication for you, and that's been a life changer for me. Because everything, again, we are so highly targeted. We have to use two-factor authentication for everything. So that has made it so much easier to log into all of the tools that we use, because that two-factor authentication just pops up right there and it pre-fills it, and then we're ready to go.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to make one comment. So since you're Chill with Jim with the password manager, I mean, I've used 1Password for several years now, and you know, paid for the deluxe version of it or whatever. And actually, I think now you have to pay for it. So you guys had mentioned that My Key, and okay, you know, let me start playing with that. And I like it. I've actually switched everything over to it.
Awesome.
And I am guilty of trying to use same passwords, but you have to look it up in the app anyways. So what I've done since I got that Mikey is now my passwords, I let Mikey create the password, and you know, then it just brings it up and it loads it right in there, the browser anyways. So it's worked wonderful.
Awesome.
Good.
That's a success story right there.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Now tell the rest of the team that.
And then and you know,
so they don't get scared.
Well, and 1Password was great. Like I've always, like I said, I've always used 1Password, you know, but I do pay for it. It's not that much. It's not that big of a deal, but you know, I had heard you guys saying that for Dugan's, you guys use that My Key, and okay, well, you know, let me kind of play with this one, and I figured out how to convert all my data, because I have a lot, you know, a lot of data.
And,
oh yeah, I Google and I figure crap out.
That's funny.
Heck yeah.
That's what I do too.
Yeah. But I mean, I got everything converted over to My Key, and you know, I've been using it since that call, and I like it, you know, and just the fact that I can use the free version, you know, is really nice. So just wanted to kind of put that little feedback out there.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you. And well, we got everybody else on this call, the huge audience we have. We're gonna, you know, Carlene has been an all-star for our attendance. She has attended I
She's
mean,
had
80,
almost
80% of
perfect
these.
I think
attendance.
I've done all
One?
of them.
Okay, I was gonna say if you've missed any, it's only been one, maybe.
No, and I got off about halfway through the last one because I don't know, it just wasn't anything that I needed or was
Right.
interested in. So I
Right.
kind of
That was the insurance, yeah.
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 hmm But I've attended all the other ones, and everything has been really interesting and helpful. So I've learned a lot, and I love that you guys are doing these calls.
Well, I have a quick question
Thank
for
you.
you, Carlene. Like we were talking earlier about people using, if you don't have a VPN, people getting through to your phone and acting like they, are your phone, different things like that. I've tried to explain that to my best friend twice now, and she doesn't get it. And the majority of the things that I try to tell her, she's kind of like, bug in my ear, I don't want to hear it. You actually listen and you take in and you try to understand. Do you have any advice about how we can get through to other people? Because it seems like a bunch of people, if they sat and took the time to listen to how we're trying to protect them, they would really want to, protect, but they don't understand it and they don't want to take the time.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. It depends on people because, for me, I know that you have the knowledge and the experience. So, I listen, just always with David, he'll shout out an example of something and it's like, oh, I'll write that down real quick. Oh, and that's something good to use because I know I trust you guys and I know that you have the knowledge and the experience to back up what you're saying. So for me, I listen. Not everybody's like that. Sometimes it's like, oh, you're just trying to sell me something that
Right.
I don't need or I don't want. And I've had that too when you're talking to somebody and it's like, they kind of stop listening.
Right.
So, I mean, it's hard. I wouldn't know how to get through to somebody. I guess, maybe giving them examples of, like legitimate things bad things that have happened, not just, well, this could happen, but,
Right.
well,
Examples,
right. Like
real life.
this did happen to this person or.
You face the same thing though as a travel advisor,
Right.
right? Because I mean the things that I hear you guys do, the things that you take care of for your clients, it pays for it. It doesn't even cost anything extra for a lot of you guys, but the number of things that you guys do for someone for their trip, and it is so overwhelmingly worth it. But trying to convince a new person,
Travel insurance, for example.
right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm trying to protect you.
And I have that, and that's a perfect example. I have clients where, and it's hard, like with the travel insurance too, because now they've limited it to, well, you can't call it travel insurance. You can't say I recommend or
Right.
no, what is it? Yeah, you can't recommend it. Like there's all these things you can't say anymore, so it's really hard. But like, I had a client it was a couple with my parents. They were on a cruise and the husband died on the cruise. And it was a 27-day cruise. And about halfway through, they had just left New Zealand and the guy had a heart attack and died. And, so they travel insured organized everything. So, to try and sell travel insurance, I mean, I don't want to say, oh, I had a client die on a cruise. It's kind of like morbid and a little
Said that, Carlene. I
What?
used your example and I said that to somebody. It did all at the end. They bought it, but I got so frustrated. We get frustrated. Like,
Right.
I'm trying to protect you. I'm your travel agent.
Right.
And I told them it was my aunt and uncle, and one has diabetes, and like they're just in their 60s, 70s. They've got a whole laundry list of things, and they didn't want it. And I'm like, okay, let me tell you this story about this agent. It was like the week that all of your stuff happened.
Right.
And David's like, Candace, maybe you didn't want to tell them, like, about people dying. And I'm like, well, they didn't want to listen. And it's true. It's so true. You could literally just you never know what's going to happen.
Well,
Let me protect you.
And I try and tell people, you know, when I'm trying to sell the travel insurance, because a lot of people be like, well, it doesn't. And I have one older client that he almost never buys travel protection. And I mean, they're pretty active. They are skiing all the time. They live in Colorado and they're always skiing and, you know, so they're pretty active. But, you know, the thing is, I tell people it protects you prior to travel, yes, but it also protects you while you're traveling. If something happens and you end up in the hospital or you know, whatever, and I'm sure I'm probably not supposed to be saying all that, but you know, I'm just trying to explain that it protects you while you're traveling, you know, because you never know what's going to happen when you're traveling.
Well,
Yeah,
I did use your example, and they did not die. However, they did get the flu, and they did miss part of their trip, and I was able to, you know, get them refunded.
Nice.
So they understood at the end, but shoot, to sell that to someone at the beginning.
Yeah, it is.
Crazy.
It's a challenge, and I cringe when they don't get travel protection because, you know, not only did it help her financially, I mean, she got a lot of money back for that, a lot of money. But and she had another cruise booked and had travel protection, so she got a lot of money back even from that cruise
That's awesome.
because she still went, but then it's ended up switching to a single supplement. So she ended up going for half of what the two paid for them rather than a single supplement cost. So she even saved a lot on her next cruise. But, you know, not only financially does it help you, but, you know, she would have been, it was 4 days until they got off in Tahiti. And then in Tahiti, you know, like they found somebody to embalm the body, and like they took care of all the details.
wow.
So not just the money part of it, but the
Yeah,
details part
I
of
can't
it.
imagine trying to deal with that yourself in that
Right.
situation.
And that's the
Wow.
thing, like how, you know, how do you even know you're on a cruise ship that you don't have, you know, a phone because, you know, you don't have anything, tools for anything, and you got to start, then now you're destroyed and you got to, you know, deal with all these details. And Travel Insured was amazing. They were absolutely amazing with it and took care of all the details and everything, getting the body embalmed and get the body home. And, you know, all she had to do was tell them which funeral home back in Florida to deliver it to, but they did everything else.
Awesome.
I mean, could you imagine, you know, having to figure out how to get a body home from Tahiti, you know, and finding a funeral home in Tahiti, you know, and who knows, it could have been Mexico and nobody spoke English. Like, you know, it's like, it could have been so much worse. So I totally cringe when people don't get travel protection.
I guess it just falls back to relationship, because that's what we pride ourselves on at Strix, is that relationship. And that's why I was kind of asking you, just to see what other thoughts someone outside of our staff had, you know, because that's what we just fall back on, is that we have to have that great relationship, because there are so many IT companies, any profession, there's going to be somebody that's out to get you, oversell you, you know, sell you crap you do not need at all, and not think twice about it, and they go to sleep at night. So I guess it's just relationship. You know, your travel customers learn you, who you are, your values, and that you're going to do them right, and kind of the same for us, I guess.
Yeah,
Definitely.
Well, I got a new sales technique now. If you don't buy our IT protection, you will die. Or someone
Maybe
you know
should say
will die.
your computer. Make it a little less.
But say it quietly. Just say your computer will die.
Because I mean, that sounds like a great sales. I mean, you're selling all kinds of stuff, so someone you know will die.
They said in Anaheim, you know, when they presented that we're not allowed to, you know, like scare them, you know, so like you can't even really say, well, you know, what if someone dies? Like that's kind of a scary tactic, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's true, and I'm not saying it to be scary, because I've
It's a
Period.
fact.
No,
Right.
yeah, you've
Like, how do
dealt
you
with
know
it.
what you need or what you don't need if you don't know the fact of the matter? That's like us trying to sell you, cyber insurance or this or that or VPN without you understanding what the consequence is if you don't get it. Like, how
Yeah,
are
you,
they
you only
expecting
you
you to
only
give a
you only buy
consequence?
insurance for scary things.
Yeah.
Right.
How do you
Right.
sell something that's built for scary things if you don't scare people?
Right.
Anyway.
Right.
All right, Jim.
Yep, let's
Back
wrap her
to
up.
Jim.
All right. Well, so
That was a
we
great
did
conversation, though.
that. I enjoyed it thoroughly, and I got a new sales tactic out of it. So just watch out. You're gonna get all kinds of clients now.
Funny.
So yeah, like we talked about, next week's Chill with Jim session is going to be an in-depth look at multi-factor authentication and VPNs, virtual private networks. So we're going to dive a little deeper than what we talked about today, provide some examples of how it can save you when things are going wrong, protect you from the bad guys, as well as we'll go over ways to set it up so that you know kind of what it's going to look like, so you're not surprised by the extra steps that are going to be involved.
So if you have VPN already, is that a good one to still attend? Is there going to be additional information that's good?
I think it's good.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
Okay.
Jim. Sorry.
Yeah, oh no, I was just gonna say, yeah, because there's a lot of different products out there right now, so it's good to kind of understand what's on the market, I think, but also to review, maybe you'll find some information you didn't know, or there might be another solution out there that you can save money on. Maybe that's better protection. So I think it's still a great one to attend. That's also why we're buddying it up with multi-factor authentication, just so you'll get knowledge on two of the ways we can help protect you. So I'd love to thank everybody for this was a great conversation today. I felt like it went very well. We
I learned a lot.
awesome.
That's what we love to hear.
Yes. And so next week, same time, always remember to wear your pajama bottoms while you're on the call. And
I forgot.
Just the bottoms.
just the bottom. Well, it's business up top and then pajamas on the bottom. That's the rule.
We were gonna get him some cool slippers and like some Strix owl pajama pants. We gotta find somebody to make him some of those.
We need one of those. It's like the little thing you put on your thumb, but it's an owl, and let's put it on his big toe. I think that's been the biggest draw to Chill with Jim was that big toe.
Funny.
Yeah, it needs some sprucing up. So.
All right. Well, I went ahead and posted the link there in case
I'm
you
already
wanna
signed up.
do that one. She
All
quick.
right.
She got it.
And then if you'd like those slides that we have, Carlene, I can send them to you.
Sure.
Okay, we'll send those over with the thank you email that I'm gonna send out. Or you can
Sure.
just put it. You can, David, if you're gonna put it up right now, you can.
Well, no, I'm sorry. I got a phishing scheme, and I was going to post it for everybody real quick. Like the email just popped up. It was a phishing email, but our anti-phishing got rid of it before I could
That's
Hmm.
funny.
get it ready. So
Sounds
well,
like you
so
got some
we
good
got
tools in
our
place.
our tools are too good. I can't show you.
So again, appreciate everybody coming out. We'll see you next week, and everybody have a good rest of your week. Please.
Bye. Have a good day.
Sounds perfect. Bye. Thank you.
See you, Carlene. Thank you.